Is our government in the possession of a crash retrieval that was made not on planet Earth?
We have a pretty good idea where those things were taken. It's not a secret anymore that those things have been retrieved. They've been retrieved all over the world by special teams. They've been taken to the best labs.
The Ukrainian researchers said, we see these UAP under all kinds of visible conditions, a lot of the time in lots of different locations.
We also have the Webb telescope that can look at such an object from a different direction than the observatories on Earth.
The myths are consistent with oftentimes referred to as the gods.
And there's a lot more going on here, not just on this planet, but on other planets.
I think this is the ark of the covenant.
There were actually multiple arks.
History isn't what we've been taught, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Thanks for showing up at UFO AZ. I'm Ted Lohman, and today is my pleasure to introduce a gentleman I've been trying to sit down with for a long time. I met him about 8 months ago in Las Vegas, and now we're here in Albuquerque. New Mexico is home state, and I wanted to introduce Clifford Stone. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure's mine.
Oh, pleasure's mine. Give me a little background on you, how you got involved in this, how it started, when it started.
Well, it started in summer of 1957. I was going to play a game of baseball, went out to get a friend of mine. When I went to his home to get him, I heard a strange whirling sound. I looked around to try to find out what was causing the sound. As I looked over some warehouses that was behind his house, I noticed this white opaque disc fly over the warehouse, then fly over his house. At that time, I knew that I was seeing something that was totally out of the ordinary. First, I had, I guess you might say, shock or awe at what I was seeing, because I knew that what I saw couldn't possibly exist. But then it gave away, I guess, a little to fear after the phenomena had departed and I could no longer see it or hear it. Anyhow, I always wanted to know what it was I saw that day. So I started to look for answers, and that has led into a lifelong search, still looking for answers, but I think I'm closer to understanding more about what it was I saw that day.
Did you see it here in New Mexico?
No, sir. I saw it in Portsmouth, Ohio.
And when you looked up and was startled at this, did you fear for your life?
Not at that time, no. It was a wonder that I was seeing this. I felt that it was a special event.
Did you look around to grab somebody to show?
No one around to grab a hold of. Also, I guess you might say I was transfixed. I wasn't thinking of running away. I wasn't thinking of trying to share at that precise moment the experience that I was experiencing.
And how long, this was a daytime sighting?
It was a daytime sighting.
And how long was this sighting? How long did you?
I would say roughly 7 to 10 seconds is what I had it in sight. It sailed over the, well, it was the Selby's shoe warehouse is where it came across from, went over my friend's house. And it was only about 150 feet off the ground at that time. I'm sure there were people who saw it out in front because this was in a downtown area.
Sure.
And broad daylight, there was people when I went to the front to run home to tell my mom and dad what I had seen.
And what was their reaction?
Their reaction was that I shouldn't talk about it because somebody might think I was crazy.
Interesting, interesting. So 10 seconds, a sighting that you visualized for 10 seconds changed your life, or set you on a basically a quest.
It had a definite impact.
Had a definite impact.
Yes,
That's
sir.
amazing. I have not had the pleasure of seeing or consciously being aware of seeing something like that. I've seen a lot of UFOs, but nothing like that. So now, time has passed and you've gotten into the service.
I went to the United States Army.
Okay, and did you avidly follow the phenomenon then?
I continued to have an interest. Also, I found out that I wasn't alone in the military. I found out that there were quite a few people in the military that had an interest. After members of the units that I had been in got to know me better and decided that I wasn't in there to spy on them per se, and that I would take them serious, they came to tell me stories about incidences that they had been involved in. Even situations of where you might call them recovery operations. Now, it was unique that these were Army personnel. It wasn't until 1983, when I was assigned to an Army detachment at an Air Force base, that some Air Force personnel approached me and said, well, listen, there is such thing as a recovery program, and it takes place out of Fort Belvoir. And among other things, UFOs is an item of interest.
Where's Fort Belvoir?
Fort Belvoir, Virginia. It's an Army installation. There's a unit there. It's currently called the Air Force's Special Activities Center. But that unit has been known over the years as the 11th, 27th Field Activities Group, the 4602nd, the 7602nd Field Activities Group. All of these groups have been associated with Project Blue Book. And normally, the best recollection I have is Air Force Regulation 200-2, which dealt with UFO investigation on the Air Force side of the house.
Inside an Air Force manual or a book, there's something about UFOs that deal with UFOs?
Oh, absolutely.
But UFOs don't exist.
Absolutely, according to the government. But if you go and you see the documentation that's presently released today, we find out during the course of Project Blue Book, the 22 years existence of Project Blue Book, no government agency was supposed to have any other UFO documents. The Condon Committee report, Dr. Condon was given secret clearance, as everyone on his committee was. They were told, we're going to open up the whole UFO file to you. They restricted them to the Project Blue Book files. That's a public relations operation at best. We find, after the introduction of the Freedom of Information and Privacy Acts of 1974, we find that a secret clearance just won't hack it. We find that there is information concerning UFOs in essentially every branch of the intelligence community of the United States. That much of this information is classified at a secret and top secret level. Further restricted to access by what's called the SCI program, the Sensitive Compartmented Information Program, further restricted in many cases by what's called the Special Access Program. Example being, you might have a secret and top secret document. Let's assume that one of those documents, a secret document, which is a lower classification than the top secret, is a secret AMBRA document. That secret AMBRA document will require more controls on it than that top secret document, simply because it has a caveat AMBRA, which means that it's limited to but those people who have an AMBRA clearance to see it. Now, that document might even be further restricted on the basis that it might be on a what's called a restricted access program, which is generally a by name listing of people who can see it, that may be from only a small handful to maybe as much as 60, 70 people.
Now, are you actively in the service?
I'm not actively in the service at this time. I'm retired.
Okay. How long have you been here in New Mexico?
I was assigned here in 1985 as an ROTC assignment. I had about 3 months in Germany from June of '89 to October of '89. And in January of '90, I retired from the United States Army.
Did they, while you were with them, did they ever tell you to not do what you were doing?
Oh, I was given a lawful order on October 15th, 1987, to not field any Freedom of Information Act requests without first getting the approval of my command, not to send any letters to any members of Congress or the President, not to talk to the media, and not be associated with any UFO groups without the explicit approval of my immediate command.
How long were you in Germany?
On this last trip, it was about 3-4 months.
And did you run across anything provocative over there?
Oh, absolutely. At that time, everyone thinks that the Belgium case started in 1990. Actually, Belgium was involved with UFO sightings going all the way back to 1987 or earlier. There was several military intelligence groups that was involved with accessing, shall we say, information concerning the Belgium sightings. The most dominant, I'd say, would be the 71st Military Intelligence Group, which, by the way, reports directly to the National Security Agency. In my book, there is a document dealing with the Belgium sightings in which the Belgian government suggested that we were sending stealth reconnaissance aircraft, over their territory to go into Soviet territory.
What time? Give me a year frame.
This was in 1990.
1990?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How about anything earlier than that? Over when you spent any time in Europe, was there more things going on?
Oh, while I was in Europe, we were also interested, once again, by talking to military personnel these were military intelligence personnel. There was the situations that's going on in Russia. There were situations going on in Belgium. There were sightings taking place in Germany. There were military sightings that was taking place in Germany that nobody read about in the newspapers. As a matter of fact, there's one case, and I can't prove this, but I'll bring it up anyhow. I think you will find there was a Cuban MiG that was lost, destroyed, we shall say, crashed into a farmhouse in Belgium, killing a 17-year-old Belgian farm boy. The story that the pilot gave after 37 hours of silence, both from the United States, or shall we say NATO, and the Soviet Union, the story that was finally released and picked up by the European papers and even Stars and Stripes, but I have yet to find anyone that read about it here in the United States, was that there was a malfunction with the aircraft. It got unbearably hot. The pilot ejected. Of course, when you eject from an aircraft that you think is going to crash, you shut down all the systems prior to ejection.
Right.
Which would allow that aircraft to go ahead and crash, hopefully, somewhere in the immediate area without any loss of life or property damage.
Well, you would hope so.
Absolutely. However, apparently, when the pilot ejected, the plane somehow regained power and went on its own course, flying into Belgium. Flying first through Germany, then into Belgium. We had fighters immediately intercept it when it entered German airspace. We were stunned, or should I say the pilots who intercepted it were stunned, to find there was no pilot. So we tried to find an area which we could safely shoot it down. Every area that it was going over had a rather large population below, so we couldn't do it. We hoped that it would eventually get over the Black Sea and simply crash out at sea. This wasn't to be. It ran out of fuel and eventually crashed into a farmhouse, killing a 17-year-old boy. We were able to keep that story quiet for 37 hours. By that time, here in America, it was considered old news, and there wasn't room for it in any of our papers.
And what's the time frame on this one again?
This right here, October 1989.
Oh, so it wasn't that deep, it wasn't that far away.
Oh, absolutely. I firmly believe that the story that I just told you about the loss of power, they exclude any saying about there being a UFO involved. But I heard several stories about that and several other Soviet aircraft in which UFOs were involved.
Have you heard of any, and I'm sorry I haven't read your book, but have you heard of any UFOs that have been shot down by any of the governments, the U.S. government, or brought down forcibly?
Not where we have brought them down. There are cases in my book where there has been attempts to shoot them down, and sometimes at a tragic loss of life. There's one case which we're indebted to Stan Friedman for, dealing with a Cuban MiG that was destroyed in March of 1967. a UFO violated Cuban airspace. They sent aloft two MiG-21 fighters to intercept it. They tried to make contact with the UFO. Failing to make contact, the Cuban Air Defense Command directed the wing leader to go ahead and try to shoot the UFO down. The wing leader directed his the flight leader directed his wingman to follow him in on a combat run. They charged their weapon systems on the aircraft, started to go toward the UFO. The first aircraft that would engage the UFO was in fact the flight leader's aircraft. The wingman broke off contact. The flight leader's aircraft simply vanished. No debris, no body was ever discovered. When the wingman regained his composure, he was asked, "What did you see?" He said it was as though seeing the flight leader's aircraft up in front of him. The same as you'd see a car on a hot day with the heat waves coming up from the road, and the plane just simply vanished. The National Security Agency has that information, and it's classified. As a matter of fact, they even told Senator Domenici's office, in the letters published in my book, that they could not identify whether they were the agency which the Air Force needed to coordinate with concerning the release of that information in 1979 as a result of one of my FOIA requests. But if they had that type of information, it would be classified and not releasable. The response I got in 1979 from the Air Force Security Service is that initially the information was currently improperly classified and not releasable. Upon appeal, they came back and informed me that they could neither deny nor confirm the existence or non-existence of any information concerning that case.
How about did you try to go to Cuba and see if Cuba had anything? I mean, Cuba isn't in real good favors with the U.S.
Oh, absolutely.
Anything they could dump on the U.S. feather in their head.
I didn't, but there was another gentleman that did. And I think his name's Ziegel. I can't remember if that's his name or correct. Todd Ziegel, I believe it was. Anyhow, when he tried to do this, the FBI, he notified the National Security Agency and the Air Force he was going to go and ask the Cuban government. The FBI went ahead and opened an investigation on this person under the Counter-Espionage Act of the United States Code, and attempted to get all the paperwork he had on this particular incident.
That's a shame. That's just, I don't know why they just don't leave us alone. Well, I guess we don't leave them alone either.
I think it'd be wrong to leave them alone.
It's scary.
The American people, let alone the people of the earth, have a right to know what's going on.
Without a doubt. Any more than they would want to know if themselves, if the situation was reversed.
Oh, absolutely.
There has been... Clifford, I want to go in a direction that's right here in New Mexico. Krista Tilton came out with the Benowitz papers, or she was one of the co-authors on it, I think. And I'm really interested in that because I think Paul Benowitz was the person that started the Dulce craze. Is that not correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Can you give me a little background and our viewers a little bit on what went on and why Benowitz came up with this?
Well, essentially, my knowledge of Benowitz originates with the OSI documents, Office of Special Investigation documents of the Air Force, dealing with him going to OSI, telling them that there was a UFOs being seen over specific areas, and he had the evidence of this, which the evidence was in the form of photographs and films that had been taken of the UFOs that he had personally seen. Furthermore, the U.S. Air Force looked at the film footage, looked at the photographs, and concluded they were real and not hoaxed. Mr. Benowitz was invited to come to the air base and to brief a lot of the individuals there, a lot of the high brass there, as to what it was that he had observed and let them view his evidence. He also claimed to have been able to communicate with the UFOs. Now, he did pick up some type of electronic signals, and I don't think that he was perpetrating a hoax with those electronic signals. Although the evidence was, or the evaluation was that the information was inconclusive as to what the electronic signals was that he had recorded actually were.
Who is Paul Benowitz? Is he some Joe off the street?
Paul Benowitz is a scientist per se, in his own right. He was the owner and proprietor of what they call Thunder Corporations. It's located right outside the front gate of Kirtland Air Force Base. They did have some contracting, and still do, as a matter of fact, with the U.S. Air Force and with Kirtland Air Force Base.
So what's this have to do with Dulce? Were these photographs and these motion pictures or these videos, were these over Dulce?
He was stipulating that there was some type of activity taking place in the Dulce area, up to and including underground installations. In 1985, he came out and stated that apparently there had been an accident that had taken place in the Dulce area, that apparently there was an atomic-powered craft that had crashed. That atomic-powered craft was supposedly one of the spaceships that we had recovered, and we were test flying it.
And there was a crash site there.
There is definitely a crash site there. Something did, in fact, crash. When I went to try to get specific information concerning that incident, I was turned away at every corner. I mean, the story sounds absolutely absurd. Yet, the irony is, something happened, maybe not to the extent Benowitz's perception of it is. If you ask me, is the man crazy? I don't think so. Has there been efforts made to make him appear crazy? I think so.
Yeah, there seems to be. But still, one man saying that there's an underground base, he has to have something to back that up. There has to be. I mean, there are a lot of researchers around the United States that believe, and a lot of people that believe there is an underground base. And just because of one man saying that there is doesn't make it so necessary. There are a lot of researchers that go to great depths and they still think that there is something.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's definitely something there. As a matter of fact, myself and a couple of my friends went up there, and we didn't want anyone to know we were in the military. There were efforts forwarded to try to ensure we didn't go to the right spots. Other researchers that I know of who are close friends, Tom Adams among them, went up to that area. One of the state police officers was supposed to try to take them into that area. I can't remember his name right offhand, the state police officer, but...
Hoyt?
Who?
Not Hoyt?
Not him.
Valari? No? That's okay.
I can't remember it, but Gabe Valdez, thank you. Gabe Valdez was a police officer that was going to take them up to the site. Never could take them up. Benowitz, in some of the papers that he personally wrote to me, felt that Gabe had been gotten to, that Gabe was now backing off. But even at that, at a later date, just a couple years ago, as a matter of fact, Gabe started to state that, yes, there was definitely something going on, but he really didn't know what it was. And right now, I believe there is a need for more research as to what's going on up there.
Well, the place is, from the films that I've seen and the people that I've talked to, that's almost inaccessible. I mean, you really have to be a mountain goat to get to any of these places in there. It isn't as if that there's a big fence coordinate, saying you can't go in there, do not go in there.
Oh, absolutely not.
And I mean, if you wanted to go up there, you could go up there. How did Krista Tilton get involved in this? I mean, that's kind of a strange thing for me. I mean,
well, Krista Tilton alleges that she was abducted,
right,
and taken to a facility that was an underground facility up there.
Okay.
After hearing about Benowitz's research, she wanted to know more about what Benowitz had to say. So she had some contact with Benowitz and also had a knowledge of information that other researchers had
So she kind of
received.
concluded that this was the place that she was taken?
Well, she concluded that this was the place before she actually met Benowitz.
Oh.
So there's some correlation there. The real gist of what would be hard evidence, true, that's lacking. But I always like to go toward government documentation.
Right.
And when I go towards government documentation, I look not just to getting the documentation, but any and all resistance I meet, trying to get that documentation. I ask about Benowitz. Here again, this is in my book. I asked Senator Domenici's office about Benowitz. Domenici's office was involved with Benowitz's allegations of the crash of atomic craft that he alleged crashed there. I found that the person I was talking to was not very interested in talking about it and told me that everything had been returned to Mr. Benowitz. Mr. Benowitz states that it was not returned to him. One of the documents that Benowitz sent to Senator Domenici's office, was also one of the documents that I got, and I tried to confirm or repudiate. We call it the Snowbird document. It talks about the test flying of a recovered UFO in Nevada. Area 51, Site 4, Groom Lake. Paul Benowitz always referred to it as Groom Lake for the most part when you would talk to him about that area. The interesting thing is, as a soldier, I had a document that it was clear to me that even though it had parts that was marked out, it was not a document that had been released under the Freedom of Information Act. I took it to my security officer, a captain there at the the institute that I was assigned to on the ROTC assignment. He looked at it, and when he looked at it, he made reference to the Munchkins of Dreamsville.
Wait a minute. The Munchkins?
The Munchkins of Dreamsville.
Sounds like something out of Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Absolutely, and maybe we are.
Okay.
But when he made reference to that, I looked at him sort of strange, and I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "I bet I could send this document to some friends of mine in Groom Lake without further going any further than that, and get some real hair-raising inquiries about where you got this." Groom Lake? He says, "Yeah, you know, Dreamland." Well, now there's been talk coming out about Dreamland, about the Munchkins, the underground cities in which the Munchkins are supposedly located. I heard that there is even an Air Force document that alludes to no open-air bombing over an area where the underground citizens, the Munchkins, are supposed to reside. And I find it interesting that official documentation would allude to underground city and the term Munchkins.
I'm going to go back to Dulce a little bit. There was a crash up on the plateau. How did Benowitz get this information? Did he see it?
Benowitz alleges he flew over it and gathered specific information.
I mean, did he just happen to fly over it after it had crashed? I mean, nobody. I mean, that's pretty desolate
No,
area.
the stuff, what caused him to fly over it was information he was getting off his computer, which he firmly believes was communications from the entities.
Okay.
Now, I'm military, and I went through a lot of hassle because I chose to try to seek out the truth. Therefore, I would never identify the person I'm about to tell you about, but there was an Air Force officer, field grade officer. That means he's major and above.
Okay.
And I asked him point blank, "What do you think about Benowitz?" This conversation took place in 1986,
Okay.
November 1986. When I asked him this, he said, "Well, let me put it this way. Benowitz is engaged into research into something not commonly found, something not found in nature. Now, that's almost a direct quote. Benowitz is involved in research into something not found in nature. He couldn't go into what he meant more than that.
But that still doesn't, I still don't see where Benowitz, because there was a crash up on the plateau, doesn't mean there's an underground city. And there was a crash on
Benowitz
the plateau.
took photographs in which Benowitz alleges he could see underground areas there.
Opening?
He could see openings. He could see...
You mean camouflaged over?
Camouflaged.
Okay. I mean, he didn't have X-ray vision.
Oh, no, nothing like that.
I mean, I've heard that people say that. That's why I want to get...
No, he was very pragmatic about his thoughts. In other words, he has photographs which he shows. I have one photograph, I don't have it with me, which I'm impressed with. I would not go so far as to say these are openings. One that he says is a demigod that the entities carved onto one of the rock cliff faces there.
Well, why don't we get 30 guys and go in there and find this place?
Oh, I'd be all for it, but I assure you that if you don't go in there with the right equipment, if you don't go in there with patience, you'll probably never find it. We went up there and we were trying to find it, but I found that the interesting thing is that a lot of people in Dulce won't talk about it. Once they get to know you, then they'll talk to you about it, but they'll only go to a certain point. The best that we've been able to find out when we've gone up there, but I haven't been able to go up there and stay extensively. And I've never been able to go to the actual site. And I'd love to do that. But what you find out when you go up there and you start talking to the people, you find out there's something very strange going on there. Exactly what that is, we don't know yet.
Now, wasn't there an experiment done, or if there's a cavity, under the earth, we have equipment that you can hammer down into the earth, and you can set off an electrical signal, and it goes out in all directions, and it's like a sonar, an underground sonar type of thing. And it goes and it bounces back. I've been in mining for years, and you can set these up and shoot an IP and find out whether there's water, whether there's a cavity there, whether there's a mineral there. Wasn't there something done like this?
Yes, there was. I can't remember who it was that carried that out.
Jim Del Tosa was involved in it.
That could have been it, but I think you also will find that they believe there was something there.
Yes, it's not documented to my knowledge, but I was wondering if you knew something.
I knew something about that. I haven't seen the documentation on it, but I think Krista mentions it in her book, and I haven't seen that.
Isn't there also, wasn't there was a different type of an experiment done, and I think it was called buggy whip or something like that. Gas buggy.
Yeah.
That's it, gas buggy. Because what I'm trying to get to or allude to is that if you have a cavity that is housing craft and entities, as well as supposedly Army or governmental employees, it has to be a huge cavity. Now, whether there's only two ways you can get a cavity. You either have to move earth, or it was naturally made. And if you move earth, and that much earth, you have to put it somewhere.
Oh, what is it?
Plowshare and gas buggy.
Yeah, well, gas buggy I heard about. Plowshare is the new one on me. But gas buggy, yes. The situation is there's a possibility that they did move this out. And again, I'm not too attuned to that because I had backed off for the last couple of years on Benowitz. But he discussed that type of situation. But when we start talking about underground installations,
okay, that's where I'm headed.
then let's go. I spent 4 years in Vietnam.
Okay.
While I was in Vietnam, there were times that we would walk over large complexes in Vietnam that were underground, but we didn't know they were there.
What's large?
Well, large to where you could house a hospital. You could have 200-300 man unit within that area, in that underground area. We found places where they even had trucks and heavy howitzers within that area. Now, where did they put all the dirt there? We would go and we'd start to look for the openings. The way we did this, we had what we called Mighty Mite generators. They were smoke generators. We'd find the opening for one area. Then we'd go ahead and we'd pump smoke into the area that we found the one opening.
And the draft would carry
Then the draft would carry it through, and where the smoke came up, we knew where there were other openings. Well, now what you'd want to do is just go ahead and destroy that complex. They were so huge that if we took C4 down there and tried to destroy as much of it as we could, a week later, Charlie would be back in operation again. But there'd be no telltale signs that he was back in there. So what we did, we'd go ahead and we had people who we called tunnel rats. They would go through the tunnels there.
The complex, right.
The complexes, find out what was there. Then strategically set off charges within the complex. Then we would go ahead and seal off the areas with plastic explosives, but at the same time, we had what we called CS, permanent CS, and waterproof CS. Well, we'd go ahead, the persistent or the permanent CS, this is like tear gas, it would not go ahead and stay in the area. After about a month, if it rained any, it'd wash away. Charlie'd be back in business again.
What's this have to do with it? Where are we going with this?
Well, what I'm trying to get to is that even when we closed off these underground areas in Vietnam, Charlie would reopen them up. We knew where they were at, but the reason he had reopened some of these up, we wouldn't find all the areas that may have been closed off. For example, if you had a area that seemed huge and that was all the complex there was, they would seal off that area because they knew we would go ahead and use a generator, a smoke generator, to find the other openings.
But we haven't found any openings in Dulce.
I don't think that we have really did an assertive effort looking in the right area in Dulce, though. That's why we haven't found anything.
Well, Mr. Benowitz is still alive, is he?
Oh, yes, he is.
Well, if we were to go and get Mr. Benowitz and get 40 people to go out to Dulce, could he show us would he show us? Is he capable of doing it? Is his mental capacity there anymore to do it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The question is, would he do it? The mental capacity, yes. But as far as whether he would be willing to go and do it.
Why would he not be willing to do it? I mean, his name has been trashed by the government, and by, I think you'd want to renew his name and try to.
He doesn't want any involvement, per se, with mainstream ufology. In short, what I believe government agents have done to him, he perceives that some people within the ufological field had an involvement. And we know that that really is the case from the people who were actually involved.
Okay, now I've heard that there's, if Dulce does exist, and it is underground, I have seen documents, or not documents, I've seen papers that connect Dreamland with underground tunnel systems. Is that at all possible? Do we have the equipment to be able to do that? I've seen something that was done in San Diego, a tunnel system that went directly to Dulce and then up into Wyoming and over here. These little tunnel systems. Do we have the capability of doing that?
I would say anything is possible. Probability is where you'd have to come in. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think that we have all these underground complexes that people allude to. The United States is not honeycombed with billions of aliens running around in underground installations.
Okay.
But I do believe that there are specific areas, for whatever purpose that we don't know of. The government knows them, I'm pretty sure. There are underground areas. There's definitely something going on in Area 51. Exactly what that is, I have my own opinions on, based on the research that I've done, and I don't think it's of this earth. At the same time, I don't want to go ahead and tear man's mentality down and say man is so stupid he can't get along without space entities coming here to help him. I don't want to go that far. But I would go so far as to say man is inquisitive. And if we recover artifacts belonging to some other civilization, say spacecraft, which they used to get here, crashes or otherwise, then those people who had the chance to look at it would definitely want to try to understand the engineering that went into it, the propulsion systems that propel it, the technology that is involved there. And we would try to acquire it and make it part of mankind's technological knowledge.
Okay. In your book, I can't read that. Come here and read it to me. If you're going to hand me something, read it. Just tell it. I'll cut it out. I can't read it, so please say it. I know. Just say it. It takes too much of my camera time. Nippon TV did a quite extensive piece with Krista and Yanichi Yaoi flying over in a helicopter, and Krista's pointing down. I think this is the canyon, and this is an opening here, and yeah, there's another opening, and yeah, this is where the craft went down. And then Nippon freeze framed it and drew it what looked like it very well could have been underground facilities, or very well could have been Mother Nature and very imaginative young lady. What's your opinion? Have you seen this?
I haven't seen the production, but they're not going to be that easy to see. Some of the pictures that Benowitz has, clearly when he points out some of the structures, I can't see what he says he's seeing. I don't think anyone else does.
Well, I truthfully got to say that if this was a slide and they didn't point it out and draw a line around it, I don't know if I would have been able to see it either. I mean, it was quite well done. I was impressed, and she sounded like, and I'm not taking anything away from Krista at all.
Oh, I understand.
I don't know that. But there is a lot of speculation without any proof. Krista says it, you can't, how can you not prove it? I mean, it's her word against anybody else's word.
Absolutely.
And you know what, we run around trying to find facts, hard facts. Your book is full of documentation that is fact. I'm just looking for something that's hard and concrete about Dulce. Information on it, because we do. You can go, or there has been a time that you can go to S4 and every other Wednesday you could see some anomalous thing, and people have gone there and photographed it and been chased off. You go to Dulce, you can sit there and freeze or wait, or they'll allow you to go up the mountain. I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
You have something that's top secret. Everybody knows it's top secret, but yet they're doing it in front of your nose, but you can't get there. Over here, they're supposed to be top secret. You can walk on the property. You can do anything you want to do, and nobody's bothering you about it.
The situation, I think, is that there's something mystique about something going on at Dulce. The government knows about it. Exactly what that is, I don't know. Now, why would I say there's something mystique and not be able to comment on whatever that is? Simple. I have asked for specific information, which I honestly believe they'd come back and tell me, this guy's crazy, there's nothing to it. I didn't get this back from the agencies that I queried. When I talked to this Air Force officer who was in a position to know, I asked him, what do you think? Is Benowitz crazy? And he told me right up front, no. Let me just say that Mr. Benowitz, or Paul, is investigating something not found in nature.
So his motion pictures or his video that he took, and a lot of his slides that he took of these alleged craft, there isn't any tape left of it, and there isn't any photographs of these crafts.
Oh, absolutely. There's photographs and tapes, which the Air Force could not identify. But now when he goes ahead and says that he took the pictures of the alleged crash saucers, no, I've never, or the alleged crash where the ship that crashed there, the photographs that I've seen, I see nothing there. But at the same time, are we really seeing where he did see something, or is he being, I hate the term mind control or anything of this sort, but is he being given the perception, chemically induced or otherwise, that he's seeing something?
So we do, these pictures are available.
Oh, yes.
And same way with the video of Benowitz sightings and stuff are available. Well, see, I didn't know that they were available.
Well, see, like he sent me some photographs of some of the film footage he took, things of this sort.
And this is directly over the Dulce area?
No, absolutely. As a matter of fact, there is a Jeep, in one of them there's a Jeep and there's an officer. And then there's what appears to be a UFO. Some people say it's a stealth aircraft. I talked personally to the officer that was standing by that Jeep. Once again, we're talking a field-grade officer. He states that that photograph is authentic. He told me personally it was authentic. That was not a stealth aircraft, nor was it any aircraft that he was familiar with, and that's an Air Force officer.
Well, what made Paul Benowitz go to Dulce? Dulce from Kirkland Air Force Base is quite a distance, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. But what made him go there was information that he supposedly was picking up on his computer.
What type of information?
He claimed...
Text?
Well, some text, some of it electronically transmitted information. He claims that this stuff's coming into him by the entities. He's in contact with the UFO occupants. Now, I would caution a person to be very careful about believing they're in contact with the UFO occupants. The question is he really in contact with them? Or is that some type of government scam operation as opposed to sting operation to induce this individual to a point of believing he is in contact with the entities? Now also, here it is, we have definitely something going on in Dulce. And by your own admission, you can walk up there, you can go back, you can go up there, shoot animals, go up there, shoot rabbit, shoot all that good stuff. Get lost, absolutely. So what is it that they're concerned about? If there's really something hush-hush up there, why isn't it closed off?
They don't need to, because if it's open and nobody's found it, why close it off?
If it's underground, you don't have to worry about it. There is one problem, though, and they have ran into this problem, I think, quite factually. There's strange noises that take place up there in that area from time to time, like the rumbling of high-powered generators, apparently from underground.
Underground steam.
Where's it escaping from, though?
I don't know.
No, absolutely. But there's another added mystery to it. I base my belief that there's something going on up there, not from all the available documentation, what Benowitz is stating, but from the fact that the government doesn't want to give out so much information.
Yeah, but that could be a red herring too. The government could say, I don't want to give anything out on 10 miles off the coast of Catalina Island. And everybody goes, whoa, they must be hiding something there.
Well, it could be a red herring, but what would be their ulterior motive for saying we don't want to give out anything? Now, it's not that we don't want to give out anything, it's they are not going to go ahead and satisfy the answers that I posed to them. And that is, for example, the Snowbird document, the MJ-12 document. If there's nothing, let's say that the MJ-12 document is a hoax. If it is a hoax, I firmly believe that it is, in fact, a hoax created by the government, therefore possibly disinformation. Mm-hmm. The reason I state this is because when I asked for information on the MJ-12 document, I firmly believed I'd get a response back that it was a bogus document, because the MJ-12 document would have to be, based on the nature of that document, a top secret SCI document, meaning sensitive compartmented information. Each paragraph, and I don't want to go into what that would be, would have parentheses, TS, slash, something else, parentheses, close parentheses. That's not on that document. And that would be crucial. But the situation is, that's not on that document. So when I wrote and I asked, will you go ahead and tell me if this document's bogus or a real document?
Right.
They came back and said, we can't tell you one way or the other. All we can tell you is that we can't find any substantiating evidence. Well, if you...
A bunch of mumble jumble.
Well, that's it. The whole situation is, why not, if there's nothing to UFOs, and if I really believed, if I worked within, if I was the director of the National Security Agency, and I really believed there was nothing to UFOs, and you wrote to me, do we have any classified information covering up the existence of UFOs, I would go ahead and I would sign that letter back to you where there is absolutely nothing to them. I would have no hesitation, no heartburn at all doing that. But why do they do that? Why is there a hesitation?
Well, I think because if you're a government official and you get caught lying in your duty, that you can be tried for it.
So you're stating that they would know that they were lying?
Well, yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
Right. Is there any known researcher that does actually spend most of his time researching the Dulce project or the underground facilities that possibly be in the United States?
Not Dulce, and probably the reason not Dulce is by virtue of the negative stigmatism that's attached to it with the Benowitz. Well, I like Benowitz and I even think of him as a friend, but I'll say it, the Benowitz fiasco. In short, in 1980, Benowitz was onto something. Whatever it was he was onto, the government felt threatened.
At that time, did he want to share it with the
absolutely,
community?
Absolutely.
And yet now he doesn't want to have to deal with it.
Now he doesn't want to go ahead and have to deal with it because he thinks that there's too many extremists within the field.
Now there's two things I want to get back into the Dulce area. There was one time, there's rumors or something out that there was a fight, a war. Mm-hmm. 34 scientists were killed and
66
scientists. Who comes up with these numbers?
66 soldiers. Okay, that situation right there was brought up by a document that was released. I'm not sure who it was that released it, but it was released to Paul Benowitz. Paul Benowitz gave that document to several people. Then, after that document got out, it says that there were 66 people that were killed, 66 soldiers, not scientists. Scientists come in after Bob Lazar comes into play.
Okay.
Bob Lazar comes in. Bob Lazar says, I was hired by the government to do work at Site 4 to replace some scientist who was killed, S4, well, we call it Site 4, S4 is what he calls it, to replace some scientist who was killed. Unfortunately, they had to cut the reactor. Bad move for them. Good move for anyone that needed a job that worked in that field, I guess. But these people were killed. There was also a fight later on that broke out, or prior to that broke out over the technology in which some of our service members. You mean the document that
Benowitz had?
Okay, the document that Benowitz has is an OSI agent stating that there was some fight that broke out between us and the aliens over at an underground installation. Yes, it was, as a matter of fact. It was. Special Agent Richard C. Doty allegedly said to Peter Gershwin, who was a lawyer for calls, that there was some type of fight that broke out over between the aliens and the Americans
In an underground
in
facility?
an underground facility over technology.
In an underground facility in the Four Corners area, or the underground...
Now in this one, it was referring to the Dulce area. And there was a fight that broke out. 66 service members were killed.
Now, how did this piece of information, was it gotten by the Freedom of Information Act?
Oh, no, no, no.
It was leaked.
It was
document.
circulated through the field by, I believe, Gersten himself. And I have copies of this paperwork where Gersten has come out and stated that it was Doty in a 1980 interview that did tell him this.
So we could go to the Freedom of Information Act and pull this same document out?
I assure you that there's government agencies that have it. The Air Force Intelligence has it.
So this, in a sense,
the Defense Intelligence Agency.
It's basically a smoking gun.
No, I wouldn't say that.
No.
I would simply state that this right here could be part of the disinformation, not part of the facts. The situation is that a lot of the things that are coming out that sound really interesting sometimes get twisted and may not even be factual. It may be part of the disinformation campaign. This case with the 66, here we have Doty coming out and telling Gershwin.
No, Doty is in the service at the time.
At the time, right. Telling Gershwin.
And Gershwin
was the lawyer for Gersten, I guess is the way you pronounce his name.
Okay.
For calls out of New York.
Right.
Goes ahead and says, look, there was a fight over technology. They killed 66 service members. Now we go with Lazar. Lazar says, yeah, that incident happened, but it did not happen at Dulce, and it did not happen at the time frame that the document in Dulce says it happened, I think, in the late 70s, as opposed to the time frame that the incident there was supposed to happen. Here you have identical incidences, really one and the same. They're saying, one's saying it's happened here, one said it's happened over here.
The government is very good at once you find something, they'll say, well, I'll just add another chink to the armor, and then let them try to believe one or the other.
But now who's adding the information?
Well, I don't know who's adding the information. You know, some people say Lazar is not a scientist. Stanton Friedman said just prior to this thing that he can't find any documentation that Lazar was a scientist, ever went to these colleges, ever performed any of these things, and so therefore basically doesn't know what he's talking about. You get John Lear talking about how he had phone calls from a gentleman, I don't know, I think recall Yellow Fruit or something, that knew something about the Dulce and had pictures and was going to tell the whole secret. And then you've got another guy that's in the underground that you hear every once in a while, that's going to pop up and have all the pictures and has 8 minutes worth of underground footage, and
I'm going to tell you right now that none of that stuff is going to be leaked by anybody in the intelligence community just coming forth to do it, because that information is much, much, much more protected in this top secret and secret material alone. There's only 3 classifications: confidential, secret, and top secret. They differ only in the severity of damage that would be done to the national security should that information be released. I identify that in my book also.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't mean to stop you in a minute.
Go right ahead.
You say that there's only 3 forms. There is an ultra cobra blue and all of these other
those
things.
Those right there are not security classifications.
What are they?
Those right there are further restrictions that's placed on the dissemination of that classified information. For example, if, let's say, Ultra was a clearance all by itself, or a classification all by itself, you wouldn't need top secret. The only thing that separates the three degrees, in Executive Order 12356 simply states there are only 3 degrees of classification: confidential, secret, and top secret.
And then you add all these other...
All these others come in to further restrict that information.
Certain people.
So absolutely, absolutely. You have two programs that do that. The Sensitive Compartmented Information Program and the Restricted Access Program. So the information that people are coming out with right now, saying, I will always, when somebody comes out and tells me that this is a document that I snuck out from an installation and it's a top secret, God help us, Cavett document, I will always question that document, because from the time that I worked in the military, you might get by with getting a confidential document out. You might even get by copying a secret and top secret. But when it comes to that SCI, you're not going to be able to do it.
Your book tells about, this is your book here, and give me a brief overview of this.
The intent of this book was to take some of what I believe the best government documentation to show that the United States Air Force has never believed their three basic conclusions, either during Project Blue Book or the time period after the closure of Project Blue Book. The three conclusions was, no UFO reported and evaluated by the U.S. Air Force has given any indication of being a threat to our national security. Documentation clearly indicates that they didn't believe that. There is a potential, and I must stress the word potential threat, by the mere existence of the UFO information, based on the documents.
Somebody buying this book would, this book is filled with documents.
It's 2/3 to 3/4 documentation period.
So his motion pictures are his video that he took, and a lot of his slides that he took of these craft, these alleged craft. There isn't any tape left of it, and there isn't any photographs of these crafts.
Oh, absolutely. There's photographs and tapes, which the Air Force could not identify. But now, when he goes ahead and says that he took the pictures of the alleged crash saucers, now I've never, or the alleged crash where the ship that crashed
right
there, the photographs that I've seen, I see nothing there. But at the same time, are we really seeing where he did see something, or is he being, I hate the term mind control or anything of this sort, but is he being given the perception, chemically induced or otherwise, that he's seeing something?
So we do, these pictures are available.
Oh, yes.
And same way with the video of Benowitz sightings and stuff are available. Well, see, I didn't know that they were available.
Well, see, like he sent me some photographs of some of the film footage he took, things of this sort.
And this is directly over the Dulce area?
No, absolutely. As a matter of fact, there is a Jeep. In one of them, there's a Jeep and there's an officer. And then there's what appears to be a UFO. Some people say it's a stealth aircraft. I talked personally to the officer that was standing by that Jeep. Once again, we're talking a field-grade officer. He states that that photograph is authentic. He told me personally it was authentic. That was not a stealth aircraft, nor was it any aircraft that he was familiar with, and that's an Air Force officer.
Well, what made Paul Benowitz go to Dulce? Dulce from Kirkland Air Force Base is quite a distance, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. But what made him go there was information that he supposedly was picking up on his computer.
What type of information?
He claimed...
Text?
Well, some text, some of it electronically transmitted information. He claims that this stuff's coming into him by the entities. He's in contact with the UFO occupants. Now, I would caution a person to be very careful about believing they're in contact with the UFO occupants. The question is he really in contact with them? Or is that some type of government scam operation as opposed to sting operation to induce this individual to a point of believing he is in contact with the entities? Now, also, here it is, we have definitely something going on in Dulce. and by your own admission, you can walk up there, you can go back, you can go up there, shoot animals, go up there, shoot rabbit, shoot all that good stuff. Get lost, absolutely. So what is it that they're concerned about? If there's really something hush-hush up there, why isn't it closed off?
They don't need to, because if it's open and nobody's found it, why close it off?
If it's underground, you don't have to worry about it. There is one problem, though, and they have ran into this problem, I think, quite factually. There's strange noises that take place up there in that area from time to time, like the rumbling of high-powered generators, apparently from underground.
Underground steam.
Or is it escaping from them?
I don't know.
No, absolutely. But there's another added mystery to it. I base my belief that there's something going on up there, not from all the available documentation, what Benowitz is stating, but from the fact that the government doesn't want to give out so much information.
Yeah, but that could be a red herring too. The government could say, I don't want to give anything out on 10 miles off the coast of Catalina Island. And everybody goes, whoa, they must be hiding something there.
Well, it could be a red herring, but what would be their ulterior motive for saying we don't want to give out anything? Now, it's not that we don't want to give out anything. It's they are not going to go ahead and satisfy the answers that I posed to them. And that is, for example, the Snowbird document, the MJ-12 document. If there's nothing, let's say that the MJ-12 document is a hoax. If it is a hoax, I firmly believe that it is, in fact, a hoax created by the government, therefore possibly disinformation. Mm-hmm. The reason I state this is because when I ask for information on the MJ-12 document, I firmly believed I'd get a response back that it was a bogus document, because the MJ-12 document would have to be, based on the nature of that document, a top secret SCI document, meaning sensitive compartmented information. Each paragraph, and I don't want to go into what that would be, would have parentheses, TS, / something else, parentheses, close parentheses. That's not on that document. And that would be crucial. But the situation is, that's not on that document. So when I wrote and I asked, will you go ahead and tell me if this document's bogus or a real document?
Right.
They came back and said, we can't tell you one way or the other. All we can tell you is that we can't find any substantiating evidence. Well, if you...
Bunch of mumble jumble.
Well, that's it. The whole situation is, why not, if there's nothing to UFOs, and if I really believed, if I worked within, if I was the director of the National Security Agency, and I really believed there was nothing to UFOs, and you wrote to me, do we have any classified information covering up the existence of UFOs, I would go ahead and I would sign that letter back to you where there is absolutely nothing to them. I would have no hesitation, no heartburn at all doing that. But why do they do that? Why is there a hesitation?
Well, I think that because if you're a government official and you get caught lying in your duty, that you can be tried for it.
So you're stating that they would know that they were lying?
Well, yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
Right. Is there any known researcher that does actually spend most of his time researching the Dulce project or the underground facilities that possibly be in the United States?
Not Dulce, and probably the reason not Dulce is by virtue of the negative stigmatism that's attached to it with the Benowitz. Well, I like Benowitz and I even think him as a friend, but I'll say it, the Benowitz fiasco. In short, in 1980, Benowitz was onto something. Whatever it was he was onto, the government felt threatened.
At that time, did he want to share it with the
absolutely,
community?
Absolutely.
And yet now he doesn't want to have to deal with it.
Now he doesn't want to go ahead and have to deal with it because he thinks that there's too too many extremists within the field.
Now, there's two things I want to get back into the Dulce area. There was one time, there's rumors or something out that there was a fight, a war. 34 scientists were killed and
66
scientists. Who comes up with these numbers?
66 soldiers. Okay, that situation right there was brought up by a document that was released. I'm not sure who it was that released it, but it was released to Paul Benowitz. Paul Benowitz gave that document to several people. Then, after that document got out, it says that there were 66 people that were killed, 66 soldiers, not scientists. Scientists come in after Bob Lazar comes into play.
Okay.
Bob Lazar comes in. Bob Lazar says, I was hired by the government to do work at Site 4 to replace some scientist who was killed, S4, well, we call it Site 4, S4 is what he calls it, to replace some scientist who was killed. Unfortunately, they had to cut the reactor. Bad move for them. Good move for anyone that needed a job that worked in that field, I guess. But these people were killed. There was also a fight later on that broke out, or prior to that, that broke out over the technology in which some of our service members. You mean the document that
Benowitz had?
Okay, the document that Benowitz has is an OSI agent stating that there was some fight that broke out between us and the aliens at an underground installation. Yes, it was, as a matter of fact. It was. Special Agent Richard C. Doty allegedly said to Peter Gershwin, who was a lawyer for calls, that there was some type of fight that broke out over between the aliens and the Americans
in an underground
facility over technology.
In an underground facility in the Four Corners area, or
Absolutely.
The underground.
Now, in this one, it was referring to the Dulce area, and there was a fight that broke out. 66 service members were killed.
Now, how did this piece of information, was it gotten by the Freedom of Information Act?
Oh, no.
It was leaked.
It was circulated through the field by, I believe, Gershwin himself. And I have copies of this paperwork where Gershwin has come out and stated that it was Doty in a 1980 interview that did tell him this.
So we could go to the Freedom of Information Act and pull this same document out.
I assure you that there's government agencies that have it. The Air Force Intelligence has it.
So this, in a sense,
the Defense Intelligence Agency.
It's basically a smoking gun.
No, I wouldn't say that.
No.
I would simply state that this right here could be part of the disinformation, not part of the facts. The situation is that a lot of the things that are coming out that sound really interesting sometimes get twisted and may not even be factual. It may be part of the disinformation campaign. This case with the 66, here we have Doty coming out and telling Gershwin.
No, Doty is in the service at the time.
At the time, right. Telling Gershwin.
And Gershwin
was the lawyer for Gersten, I guess is the way you pronounce his name.
Okay.
For calls out of New York.
Right.
Goes ahead and says, look, there was a fight over technology. They killed 66 service members. Now we go with Lazar. Lazar says, yeah, that incident happened, but it did not happen at Dulce, and it did not happen at the time frame that the document in Dulce says it happened, I think, in the late 70s, as opposed to the time frame that the incident there was supposed to happen. Here you have identical incidences, really one and the same. They're saying, one's saying it's happened here, one said it's happened over here.
The government is very good at once you find something, they'll say, well, I'll just add another chink to the armor, and then let them try to believe one or the other.
Now, who's adding the information?
Well, I don't know who's adding the information. You know, some people say Lazar is not a scientist. Stanton Friedman said just prior to this thing that he can't find any documentation that Lazar was a scientist, ever went to these colleges, ever performed any of these things, and so therefore basically doesn't know what he's talking about. You get John Lear talking about how he had phone calls from a gentleman, I don't know, I think recall Yellow Fruit or something, that knew something about the Dulce and had pictures and was going to tell the whole secret. And then you've got another guy that's in the underground that you hear every once in a while, that's going to pop up and have all the pictures and has 8 minutes worth of underground footage, and
I'm going to tell you right now that none of that stuff is going to be leaked by anybody in the intelligence community just coming forth to do it, because that information is much more protected.
Well, thanks for showing up. In just a few minutes, we'll be talking with Clifford Stone. I have him on the line, but three of us have written down a bunch of questions, and we'll be asking him in a minute. But before I get to that, I'd like to thank Nippon Television for providing the film that we used to show you Dulce, and they had a little reenactment with Krista Tilton in there. Krista Tilton has done a lot of work with that. And before we get to him, Jim, you have an announcement? We've had this drawing and this contest with answering the questions, and this is the person that won. Missed 2 questions out of the month.
Okay. The winner is Kay Keenan. 555. Well, we'll skip the address.
No.
But Kay Keenan, wherever you are out there in television land, you have won our art poster, which shows the Catalinas and a sighting that was recorded in 1976 at here in Tucson.
Who painted that?
Well, who else?
Oh, and she can pick it up here, or
Yes.
he can pick it up here.
Yes,
And it'll be at the front desk. Roger, you have something real quick?
Sure. There's a talk program on radio that'll be on tonight. Art Bell's program is called the Art Bell Talk Show. Comes out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's at 770 a.m. on the dial. It's KOB at 770 a.m. on the dial. John Lear is going to be the guest tonight from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. That's John Lear from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. at 770 a.m. on the radio dial.
This has a little sounds of Billy Goodman, like
Oh, yeah.
they used to have out of Las Vegas. You know, that time in the morning when they'd allow people to talk about UFOs on it.
That was a hot show, especially in the early days when he first started. That was a real hot one.
Well, I'm going to punch up Clifford here, and
let's go.
Clifford, are you there?
I'm here, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, I told you before, don't call me sir. You can call these guys sir, but not me. Jim, you got a question that you'd like to ask Clifford?
Clifford, there's been so much bandied about the Dulce experience and so forth. What do you feel is the most credible evidence that you've come across that says, yes, there are UFOs, there's a government base up there and so forth?
Well, the most credible evidence that I have, I would say that there is something going on in the Dulce area, is the fact that I've talked to quite a few of the people in the area. We've made field trips up there, and the people all report the sightings of unusual aerial phenomena that goes on almost on a daily basis up there. Also, some of the police officers that were involved, they also believe that there's something very mystique going on in the area, which probably involves the military due to the fact that there have been reports of military personnel being in the area. I'd say that'd be the most credible.
Is this a sizable military presence? Black helicopters and so forth?
There's been helicopters seen, also some black aircraft that have been seen, jets. From what I can tell, these would be similar to the A6s that are flying over the area. A6s were at one time stationed at Kirtland Air Force Base. But while we were up there, we never saw any black helicopters. We never saw any of the aircraft, but we definitely got reports of the black aircraft as well as the black helicopters, which appeared to be, according to their description of them, CH-64s.
Back in the 60s, or in the 50s or the 60s, there was supposed to be a project, a government project in that area as an underground storage facility for radioactive materials. Have you been able to confirm that?
No, I haven't. There is a situation right now where they want to go ahead and store some radioactive material on Indian land up in that area. And at present time, the Indians are very much against that move.
Roger, do you have something?
Yeah, I've got a lot of things. First off, Cliff, did you check the aircraft maps to verify that there is an aircraft pattern, or is there's a particular flight path over the Dulce area?
We've checked some navigational charts that are here in the Roswell area at the FAA facility.
Right.
Nothing's unusual about them, if that's what you're asking.
The reason I was wondering is because I thought in some research that we had done, this is myself and some other people some time ago, that was the flight path, or there was a flight path that stealth vehicles used that took them right over the Dulce area.
Well, these wasn't stealth aircraft according to the configurations. One of the Indian tribe members up there, after we got his confidence, went ahead and started telling us, and he'd take us around to have other people to tell us, because until they got to know us, they didn't really want to talk openly.
Right, I understand.
And these aircraft also came down, like one guy said he was coming up at the top of a little hill out there, and the aircraft was flying almost at ground level.
Okay.
Of course, the Air Force said that this incident never happened because that's a violation of their rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here real quick.
Go ahead.
About 6 or 7 years ago, there was a gentleman that is named Jim Delatoso, and I didn't talk to you about this in Albuquerque, but do you know who I'm talking about, Clifford? He did some soundings out there. He brought some instruments and, I guess, drilled holes to hear whether or not there was actual strange sounds coming from underneath there.
I'm not familiar with him.
Okay.
All right, Clifford, let me come back in here. There's a lot of things. I'm familiar with the Dulce area. I've been there. We've hiked a lot of it. We've talked with a lot of people up there ourselves. So, I try to keep an ongoing communication there. Have you looked at the film that Krista Tilton did or was involved in, the video, the Japanese film?
I've got to see it, but I didn't get to understand it completely, no.
All right. The reason I'm asking is we've been working with people up there. So far, none of the structures in that film check out to be anything. And I'm wondering, do you have any information, not that you would want to put out on the air, but information in general regarding entrances?
Well, I have a photograph that Benowitz sent me.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, what he's calling entrances, among other things, are these really entrances, or are they shadows? We haven't been able to determine that. I don't have facilities here to do that, but he did send me a photograph. He sent me about a 40-page letter in which he tried to detail it, and I must state it's really technical, so I don't even understand a lot of what he's trying to say there. But we found the photograph to be quite interesting. Some of the other photographs that I've seen where he was talking about various entrances, we didn't really see anything, not even as much as the shadows in those.
I see. Okay, that's what happens in a lot of crystal stuff. If it isn't an actual structure of which we've gone to a lot of trouble to identify specifically, it is a shadow situation, and when somebody goes in there physically and looks at it, it hasn't checked out. So that was part of my questions there. I'd like to move on to this situation that involved the killing of many of the soldiers. Are you satisfied that between what was reported originally and the statements the things that you talked about in Albuquerque, that fight actually did take place at S4, or is there still a question in your mind whether there was one that took place at Dulce also? You know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about the 66 service members.
That's correct.
I have some documentation on that. I tried to corner an Air Force officer who wouldn't give me a positive yes or no and wanted to move on to other things. I can say from my conversations with Dr. Benowitz, he believes it happened at Dulce.
Okay.
And I would also point out that the initial story that surfaced was involving the Benowitz scenario.
Yes. Do you have any idea what's going on in that facility at this point in time?
Not at this point in time. We're trying to break some ice, but primarily our focus is on the Roswell UFO crash of 47 to try to break some information free from the Air Force's Special Activity Center.
Right.
I firmly believe they're the ones that are presently, as a matter of fact, doing the investigations. And I state that simply because they were involved with Project Moondust and Operation Blue Fly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what those involved.
No, I don't.
They involved the recovery of only two items. That was the recovery of fallen space debris of non-U.S. origin or objects of unknown origin. I would say, in this case, as a matter of fact, early on, they identified the objects of unknown origins as UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Air Force Special Activity Center went from, we don't have any documentation, to yes, we do, but it's classified, not releasable, to we may neither deny nor confirm the existence or non-existence of any documentation pertinent to Moondust or Blue Fly. At present time, a senator that we're working through has asked the Air Force's Special Activity Center to release the Blue Fly report dealing with the recovery of the object here at Roswell, which would positively solve the mystery as to whether it was a balloon or something else.
Mm-hmm.
This information was asked for on February 21st of this year. As of Friday, last Friday, the Air Force's Special Activity Center has yet to respond to that senator's office.
I see.
And I'd like to add, this isn't just me asking that. We started a petition. There are over 1,500 American people who have signed that petition and asked the government to once and for all tell the truth by the release of this information.
Good. Did you want to step in, Ted?
Jim had something. Go ahead, Jim.
In the book Crash at Aztec by William Steinman and Wendell Stevens, they outline a great deal of the Paul Benowitz story, and it's pretty fantastic. It talks about, the alien connection with the government and so on and so forth, underground base at Dulce, a program of alien implants and abductions that is nationwide. And then a great deal of energy went into discrediting Paul Benowitz. Now, you've met him, you've spoken with him personally, you've made personal contact with him. How much of Paul Benowitz's story do you deem credible?
Well, what I would do is look very closely at his early involvement, say 1980, 81, 82, 83 time frame. In 83 is when the Air Force's OSI decided they had to do something to try to discredit him. And that's when they even solicited a researcher in the field to provide some assistance.
Is that Bill Moore you're referring to?
That's who I'm referring to.
Let me break in here real quick. What about Bill Moore? There's a lot of talk about Bill Moore, Stanton Friedman, Roswell, New Mexico. What's your opinion on the MJ-12 and the studies that Bill Moore has brought to life?
Well, I'm still doing some research on the MJ-12 document. There's a lot within it that I disagree with. not from linguistics or anything of this sort, but from the vantage point of working with classified documents and looking at that document as though it was a top secret, sensitive compartmented information document, which means that the information should have, in fact, each paragraph should have, in parentheses, at the very front, it should have TS / whatever caveat it would have for the control factor for the SCI program.
Okay.
And that's missing. But now there's another document that I think that we should ask, and there's people alive whom we could ask. It's called the Carter Briefing Document, better known as the Aquarius Document. It's about 11 pages in length. A lot of people saw it when it was being referred to as the Snowbird Document, talking about the April 25th, 1964 meeting at some air base in New Mexico, which that air base was Holloman Air Force Base, about us establishing contact in 1954, rudimentary communications. There's people that are still alive that we could ask. For example, President Carter. I'd like to present him with a copy of this briefing and ask him, is this in fact the briefing that you were given on June 17th, 1977?
I'm going to break in real quick here on you. Now, what a lot of the viewers might be asking, what gives you, or how come you are an authority at this? Have you spent time in the service? I personally know this, but I would like you to explain it to the viewing audience a little bit.
I had 22 years in the United States Army. On several occasions, I was even asked, by virtue of having an interest in this as a hobby, to brief soldiers on my interest in what I believed and why I believed it. I filed Freedom of Information Act requests to get documentation concerning UFOs. I looked at that documentation very, very closely based on my background in the military and knowing how to disconcern various types of classifications and how the formats of the various documents, such as memoranda, faxes, those are electronically transmitted messages, letters, things of this sort. And I think the one thing that we all overlook is that the stuff that we're getting under FOIA is what we call in intelligence circles as unevaluated or unprocessed intelligence data. The finalized, processed, final intelligence product has yet to be released because it's classified. And I'd like to see some of that so we could get some final definite answers as to what our government knows, when they knew it, and how much do they know. As a result of my involvement in trying to find out some information, particularly the Snowbird document, the United States Army, some members of my command at that time tried to destroy my career by forcing me to retire early. Fortunately for me, that backfired on them. They relieved me of my duty. They sent me to see a psychologist. They sent me to have a physical because as a result of what was happening to me, I came down with 5 ulcers. All of this backfired. I was eventually reinstated in to the duties that they had relieved me of. The people who were doing this were relieved of duty and sent to other locations. When I got out of that assignment, I got one of the highest peacetime awards that an enlisted soldier can get, that being the Meritorious Service Medal. I have yet to meet anyone else who had a relief of duty during a period of service that had received the MSM, the Meritorious Service Medal.
We're going to let Jim and Roger ask another question. We're going to save some more of this because you're going to come to Tucson, or I'm going to try to get you to come down here. And we don't want to tell everybody everything. But Jim has a question, then Roger, and then we're going to let you go and try to answer some calls here, and I'll see you in Cottonwood.
Okay, sir.
Clifford, based on your military background, your military experience, your experience with classified documents and so forth, you see the MJ-12 document as perhaps bogus. Can you give us some idea of why this document is being released. Is this to just create a total wild goose chase in the UFO community, or is it maybe a soft touch approach to releasing this information, not with complete candor, but to start to ease this information into the public circle?
Well, what I think happened is that there were elements of the American intelligence community involved with the release of this document. I think the intent was several-fold. First, to go ahead and cause a division within the UFO field. Secondly, there was the desire to go ahead and monitor to see how we would react to this information, those of us that believe there's something more to UFOs than it just being natural phenomena. I think they wanted to go ahead and monitor the reaction of the American public at large, and perhaps even some of the foreign countries that was exposed to this document. I firmly believe that there's mutual cooperation among quite a few governments in gathering this information, simply because it's going to have an impact not just on the United States once it's proven that UFOs are something real under intelligent control and originate from someplace other than Earth. I firmly believe that there is a ongoing exchange of information between quite a few countries concerning UFOs. Belgium, for example. The United States government says Belgium didn't give us anything. I can assure you that Belgium provided us with a copy of all the telemetry, all the aircraft films that were made inside the aircraft of the radar screens and the telemetry that was on them, all of the telemetry on the radar systems that were below, that were on the ground. Also, all the checks that were made to make sure that the equipment was functioning. We also did our own, shall I say, snooping. We had information on the Belgium sighting. The Soviet Union had information on the Belgium sightings. The Soviet Union even provided the United States with information concerning the sightings that was taking place there, I know of, in October, I believe it was, of 1989.
Okay. Thank you, Clifford.
Thank you, sir.
The last question, this is Roger, last question I'd like to pose to you is this. In the research that you've been doing in broad spectrum, have you come across anything that would indicate that there is a genetic component to and biological component that is involved, whether there may be some alien involvement in this situation?
Are you referring to like any official documentation?
Documentation or other things that you would have gotten from researchers. In other words, what I'm really trying to home in on is, one, we have a disease that seems to be having afflicted many of the individuals who have come back from being over in Kuwait and that area from the war. And what I'm looking at and curious about is whether there is biological research going on with a genetic targeting of individuals, and whether there would seem to be any cross-reference to alien sources or alien involvement in this.
I worked early on in NBC, that's nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare.
Right.
And I know that we had stockpiles of biological agents, and I also know that we do research into that, but personally I've never been exposed to it. So I really couldn't answer your question in an authoritative manner on that.
Okay, well, thank you much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thanks, Clifford. I'll be getting back to you. I appreciate you dropping in on the show, and we're going to try to field some questions from the viewing audience. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
All righty.